bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us today. Merci d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. My name is Sébastien Tremblay and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Sébastien Tremblay et je serai l'animateur de ce point de presse. Please note that City Manager Steve Kanellakis will be unavailable to join today's media availability. Veuillez noter que le directeur municipal Steve Kanellakis ne sera pas disponible pour le point de presse d'aujourd'hui. I will now invite each agency to ask their questions. You may ask one question with one follow-up. Par ordre alphabétique, j'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. We'll now start with, nous allons commencer par Dan Takema at CBC Ottawa.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks for the time. Just have one question. I guess it could go to the mayor or staff, depending on who can better answer it. But just curious about this new community benefits charge decision. When will that be enacted? Is that this term of council or the next council?
Dan Chenier.
Actually,
Mr. Mayor, I think Charmaine is here, I believe.
Sorry, Charmaine.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. It would be enacted on September 19th.
All right, thanks very much. And then second, switching gears a little bit for you, Mr. Mayor, there was a lot of talk this morning about this 142 Nepean decision being held hostage, seeing who's going to blink first, playing chicken. I'm curious for yourself if you have any concerns about a precedent being set here where kind of different matters could be lumped together and there could be a threat of losing one if you don't vote in favor of the other.
I think the challenge that we face, Dan, in any of these decisions, none of them are black and white. They're often steeped in planning law, which can be challenging for everyone dealing with a complex project. But at the end of the day, I supported this for a couple of simple reasons. The math itself was very good for affordable housing. We go from 6 affordable housing units to 25, sponsored by CMHC. Secondly, this will add an addition 300 much needed apartments in the downtown core. And as I said during my remarks, we need to get more people working and living in the downtown core to sustain and support those small businesses that have suffered as a result of many empty office towers. So if we can supplement the office towers with more people living in apartment buildings, and I'm also very keen on seeing proposals come forward that would actually convert office buildings into residential apartments so that those empty office buildings are not just sitting there wasting energy, but they actually are housing people. So I think, there was obviously an issue that had a lot of different people speaking on it. But at the end of the day, property owners do have rights themselves. And this is a significant increase in affordable housing units in the downtown core. And the 2 families that will be displaced were given the most generous package of financial aid to ensure that they will not be adversely affected for at least the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to Alex Gouge with City News on Zoom.
Thanks, Seb. My first question is from Mayor Watson. Mayor Watson, why do you feel it's important you and council lay out the position you have on the Strong Mayor's Bill to the Ford government?
Well, it appears the provincial government is determined to move ahead with that legislation. And I think our request was pretty basic and pretty simple. Please consult us because we're one of the 2 cities that will be impacted and affected. As a mayor myself, I have never really had a great difficulty getting agenda items through council, working collaboratively with members of council. And I don't think it's right to give these extraordinary powers to one member of council, namely the mayor, at the expense of all of the other members of council. So end of the day, this came as a complete surprise to me and certainly to the mayor of Toronto. And we haven't been consulted to date. We haven't had a chance to even speak to the minister who's sponsoring the legislation to offer our input. So I'm pleased that I was able to second the motion by Councillor Kavanagh to ensure that the province understands we have deep concerns about this proposal. And secondly, it's really a stretch to try to think you're giving more powers to the mayor. It's going to magically create more housing units in the city of Ottawa. It's just a little bit of a bizarre situation. Thank you.
And my second question, kind of on a different thing. What concerns do you have with COVID in schools this year as kids start to return to the classroom?
Sorry, Alex, can you repeat that? What concerns do I have?
Yeah, what concerns do you have with COVID in schools this year as people start to return to the class?
Well, obviously, we want to wish the students and the staff and the teachers the very best to have a safe and healthy return to school. Obviously, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and we still have school bus shortages. That's obviously the responsibility of the school board. So, I ask people to be very mindful of the fact that kids are excited to go back to school. They don't always follow the traffic rules, so please be careful in and around school areas. We don't want to have a tragedy in the first week school is back. And secondly, obviously, we'll heed the advice of our public health unit to ensure that students are in a safe environment, because well, we may not talk about COVID an awful lot, but it's still with us and people are still catching it, and we have to be mindful of that fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On va maintenant à Julien Paquette avec le droit.
Julien Paquette from Le Droit. Hello. I don't know if the question is for the mayor or someone from management. It's about 142 Nepean Street. I wanted to know. It's a question about parking, really. Now, the demolition of this building, why is it that it was the only option to build parking? Have you explored alternatives? Well, that's a question for the developer, but I think the answer is the following. Parking is needed for people working or living on Nepean Street. As I said in English, this is a very important project because we're talking about an increase of 25 affordable housing units. We need more affordable housing in the downtown core. We're talking about 27-story building as well, and that'll create hundreds of new apartments for residents. And when you have tall buildings like this, you need parking. And that's the reason why half of the council voted in favor of this proposal, because it's good for people looking for affordable housing. It's also good for the downtown core's economy, because currently there are many people who are not working in the downtown core anymore. They're working from home. And that has a negative impact on small businesses in the downtown core, because the workers are not there. And this is a really a new way of creating new opportunities for businesses. Affordable housing means business for them. My second question for you, Mr. Mayor. A simple question. Do you have a candidate that you would like to see elected to replace you in the elections in less than 2 months' time? Do you have a favorite? Do you intend to support anyone? Well, that's a good question, Julien. I'm following the race with great interest, but for the time being, I'm not throwing my support behind anyone specific. That might change, but for the time being, it's a secret vote, secret ballot. I'll follow the situation. I'll monitor what's going on. And if I think I can make a positive contribution, I will speak before the end of the election. Thank you. Thank you, Julien.
Taylor Blewett at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi. Mr. Mayor, I want to go back to your comment, something you said ahead of the vote on 142 Nepean. Why would Councillor Menard's motion have killed the project?
Well, the whole proposal came as a package proposal of one proposal, and there was a desire, as I understand it from our staff, that they needed to provide a certain amount of parking for contractual obligations for nearby parking for tenants in the building. So staff also agreed that the motion would not be helpful. I think that was the opinion of, I don't know if it was Tim Mark or another member of staff, and I supported that, and members of council voted it down, and then voted to proceed with the project because, as I said, Taylor, I think it was a good project. You saw the desire to have more affordable housing. This would be a net increase of 25 units versus the 6 units that we have now. And secondly, it provides another 300 apartments that I think are desperately needed in the downtown core to supplement loss of people that are working in office buildings to support the local ecosystem.
Is it possible for staff to confirm their position on Councillor Menard's motion? I'm not sure, given who's present right now, but.
Sorry to.
For staff to confirm, you said that they were not supportive of Councillor Menard's motion. I'm just wondering if they could confirm.
I don't know who would speak to that. It's Mr. Mark.
Mr. Mayor, it's Andrew McCrate, manager with Development Review Central. I can take that if you wish.
Sure.
I don't believe it was a question of whether we were supporting the motion or not. There was a concern raised that the way the Menard motion, if I could call it that, was worded, was that it removed 142 Nepean from the recommended zoning details. What we were cautioning was that the zoning details were based on a 30-space parking lot, and it may not work for a smaller parking lot, as was inferred by the motion. So it may have caused some complications with zoning compliance, subject to reviewing what could have been proposed on those other 2 lots. Thank you.
And that's one of the challenges when motions come up at the last minute. You ask staff to draft a motion, they're required to draft it. They don't necessarily support it. But that's why I asked for a separate vote on the Menard motion first, and that his motion did not succeed, as you know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This is all the time we have today. C'est tout le temps que nous disposons aujourd'hui. Thank you. Have a great day. Merci beaucoup.